My client exploded. Are you crazy? You want me to take this offer? We just dropped the listing price, and now you bring me this. I already told you my bottom line, or I'm not selling. If you ever worked with people, you've had a moment like that, when emotion takes over and you're standing there thinking, what just happened? The bigger our businesses get, the more clients we serve, the more our teams grow, the more we're exposed to people's behaviors. And let's be honest, it's not the good behavior that tests us. It's the negative ones that make us want to throw in the towel. That team member who keeps missing deadlines, she's unreliable. The manager who gets defensive in meetings, he's difficult. That part of ourselves that hesitates or procrastinates, I'm lazy. But none of those are actually true. They're labels, and labels don't create growth. They create walls. The moment we label someone, we stop being curious. We stop asking, what's really going on underneath that behavior? And when we label ourselves, it gets even harder because one bad day turns into an identity. And once the mind believes the label, it starts proving it right. In NLP, we say people are not their behaviors. You can reject the action without rejecting the person because behavior can change. Identity runs deeper. So what if you looked at every mistake, yours or someone else's, not as a flaw, but as feedback? What would shift in how you lead, how you manage, how you see yourself? Do you ever beat yourself up for every mistake? When you missed a deadline, said the wrong thing, or froze instead of responding? Does your chest tighten? Does your stomach knot up? Does your mind start racing with that voice saying, can I get this right? That used to be me. I carried that voice everywhere, whispering that one misstep defined me, that one bad call proved I wasn't enough. It felt heavy, like I was dragging a backpack full of every misstep I've ever made in any meeting, conversation, or every opportunity I missed. Then through coaching, something shifted. I did a breakthrough session, one that included mental and emotional release. My personal coach at the time, Dr. Matt James, who continued and refined the technique developed by his father, guided me through the process of releasing limiting beliefs and negative emotions I had been carrying for years. It was so powerful. I was transformed and happy by the result that I decided to learn it myself and later became certified to guide others through the same process. It sounds simple, almost too simple, and this technique is backed by clinical research. Your behavior is not your identity. You are not your mistakes. You are not the moments you hesitate, snap, or stumble. That's feedback. They're signals about your state, your focus, your resources at the moment. That insight didn't just change how I saw myself, it changed how I see others too. When a client freezes on a call or hesitates to take a bold step, I don't label them incapable. I notice the tension in their voice, the way their hands fidget, the subtle pauses before they speak. And I ask, what's behind the behavior? What is really happening here? When a team member misses a target or snaps under pressure, I feel the shift in the room, the collective pause, the little tension that spreads like static. And I don't judge right away. I observe, then coach. I guide and create space to understand rather than to blame. By separating the purpose or the person from their behavior, we create space for growth. We stop shrinking people to their actions and start seeing their potential. We stop judging ourselves for a momentary lapse and start learning from it. Conversations become learning moments. Teams feel safe, clients feel seen, and ourselves, we get a chance to grow beyond one single action or mistake. That's when transformation begins for clients, for teams, and for ourselves. Because when behavior is feedback and identity is deeper, every misstep becomes an opportunity, not a verdict. Lesson 1. Here's the first thing I want you to really understand. Behavior is not identity. In NLP, we make a clear distinction between who you are and what you do. Your behaviors, the actions, reactions, even the mistakes are shaped by your internal state in the moment. Your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and the resources you have available. Your adaptive responses to your environment are not a fixed measure of your character or potential. Neuroscience shows that our brains are constantly learning and rewiring, a concept called neuroplasticity. A single action, even a repeated pattern, doesn't define the neural networks of your identity. Habits can change, behaviors can shift, but the core of who you are, your values, creativity, capacity to learn, runs deeper than any one outcome. Yet here's the myth most high achievers get stuck on. We think if someone fails or if we fail, it must mean we're broken, lazy, or incapable. We label ourselves and others, and those labels freeze growth. She's unreliable. He's difficult. I'm not a patient leader. And the brain believes it. That's where the pain shows up in your teams and your clients. Labeling creates walls instead of bridges. It creates defensiveness, resistance, and disengagement. It keeps people stuck in patterns that aren't serving them. And it keeps you frustrated, second-guessing, and exhausted. The truth, grounded in NLP and reinforced by psychology, is simple. Behavior is information. It's a signal, not a verdict. By separating the behavior from the person, you open space for choice, for learning, for growth. You can observe a missed target, a tense interaction, a lapse in focus, and respond with clarity instead of judgment. Once you understand this, you start leading differently. You manage differently. You respond differently. And the people around you, your clients, your teams, even yourself, get the freedom to improve without shame or blame. Remember, changing behavior doesn't require changing identity. Identity is deeper, more resilient, and capable of far more than any single moment of performance could suggest. Here's the second lesson. Now that we understand that behavior is feedback and identity runs deeper, the next step is all about how we respond when things go off track. How we respond in those moments can either create trust and growth or frustration and resistance. The key is this: accept the person, shift the behavior. It sounds simple, but it's a powerful mindset that completely changes the way teams and clients respond. Here's why it works. When we focus on the person instead of the behavior, people instinctively go on the defensive. Their energy locks up, communication stalls, and growth slows. NLP and psychology show that when we separate the action from the individual, we create safety, reduce resistance, and open space for real change. People start listening, reflecting, and experimenting instead of defending themselves. So how do you actually do it? Start by pausing before reacting. The next time someone misses a deadline, snaps in a meeting, or hesitates on a project, or even when you notice your own misstep, take a breath and ask yourself, am I reacting to the behavior or am I judging the person? That brief pause, just feeling your breath for a moment, gives you the power to choose curiosity over judgment. Next, when you address the situation, describe the action, not the person. Instead of labeling someone lazy or unreliable, describe what happened. The report came in late, what got in the way, or during the call, the tone escalated. What was happening at that moment? By keeping the focus on the behavior, you invite reflection and problem solving rather than defensiveness. You start creating a culture where learning and growth are the default. If you want to take this further and lead without judgment, watch my video on how to win every argument, on how to respect someone without agreeing with them. I'll link it below. Because when you accept the person while shifting the behavior, mistakes stop being threats and become opportunities for learning, trust, and real transformation. Here's the third lesson. Stop labeling, start coaching. Once you've practiced accepting the person while shifting the action, the next step is about how we show up as leaders and managers. This is where we move from mindset to action, from noticing behavior to actively guiding growth. It's about replacing judgment with curiosity and creating real transformation for the people around us. Stop labeling and start coaching. Labels are shortcuts our brains take to simplify the world, but they come at a cost. Calling someone lazy or difficult doesn't just hurt morale, it freezes them into that identity and their behavior starts to match the label. Suddenly, progress stalls. NLP reminds us that behavior is adaptive, not a verdict. When we place judgment with curiosity, we open space for reflection, choice, and learning. So how do you do it in practice? Start by noticing when labels arise, when it's in your mind or slipping into conversation. Pay attention to that instant your brain wants to define someone by a single action. It might be a fleeting thought like she's lazy, or a comment ready to leave your mouth like he's always difficult. The first practical step is simply catching it. That awareness, even for a moment, is powerful. Next, pause and reframe internally. Ask yourself, what's behind their behavior? What's causing this? Or what circumstances or pressures might be influencing their actions? This mental pivot turns judgment into insight, giving you a chance to respond with curiosity rather than criticism. Picture it like putting a different lens that lets you see the person, not just the action. From there, step fully into active management. Begin by guiding a reflection through simple, open-minded questions that invite exploration. What could you do differently next time? Which resources or support would help here? Encourage them to think through options and identify solutions themselves. This isn't about giving instructions. It's about creating space for learning and ownership. Finally, help them connect behavior to impact. Frame it in terms of consequences and possibilities. When this happens, the team experiences X. How could we approach it differently? Or what might happen if you tried it this way? This step helps people understand the ripple effect of their actions, fostering awareness, responsibility, and motivation, all without shaming or labeling. I dive deeper into this in my video on ecology, and you'll find the link below. It's all about how your choices ripple through your team, your goals, your leadership, and the world around you. By following these steps, noticing labels, pausing to reframe, coaching through questions, and connecting actions to outcomes, you empower people to change behaviors, grow their skills, and strengthen trust. The result is lasting change. Behavior shifts, relationships deepen, and people feel respected and empowered. So stop labeling, start coaching. When you do, mistakes stop being threats and become opportunities for learning, growth, and real transformation. Remember the story I shared about my client who exploded over the offer on his home? Now, imagine if I had taken that personally, or if I'd gotten defensive or angry in return. After all, I'd worked so hard to put the deal together in a buyer's market where offers like his were rare, especially at that price point. If I had let the judgment dictate my response, his trust would have eroded. Our collaboration would have stalled and opportunities for future business would have ended. That's how it happens. The cycle of frustration builds quietly like storm clouds gathering before a downpour. Now imagine the opposite. I let him vent. I listened. This wasn't about me. It was about how we saw the situation. He told me how much time he invested in that house, the late nights after his 9-to-5 job, the care he put into every detail of the build. And in that, I heard something important, feedback. His reaction wasn't aggression. It was emotion tied to meaning. I took a deep breath. I acknowledged his position and his perspective. I appreciated that he'd had a higher valuation 6 months ago. Then I calmly walked him through the updated comparables and the current market trends. I reminded him that his next purchase would have cost more in a different market, that in the end, it all balanced out. He wasn't losing, even if it felt that way. And when I made space for him to decide, he apologized for his outburst and accepted the offer. That's the power of seeing people as not their behavior, When you do, you create safety. Tension eases, voices that are hesitant start speaking up, and ideas flow freely. People know they can experiment, try, and even fail without fear. This opens up opportunities everywhere. Second, feedback becomes growth. Every misstep in information, not judgment. Teams, clients, and even you begin noticing patterns, learning faster and adjusting with clarity rather than defensiveness. As David Kelly, founder of IDEO, says, fail faster, succeed sooner. Third, relationships thrive. Trust deepens, collaboration strengthens, and people step into their best selves, confident, motivated, and empowered. Energy shifts, possibilities open, potential that once felt blocked begins to flourish. Here's the truth to carry with you. You are not your mistakes, and neither is anyone else. When behavior becomes feedback, judgment falls away, and transformation for yourself, your team, and your clients becomes inevitable. When you replace judgment with curiosity, you don't just change people, you build freedom to succeed. Click on the next video and let's keep that growth going.